Now it's our All-Ireland football final preview. We have already spoken to Barry Moran and Stephen Rochford about Mayo's travails over the last decade. We've had Paul Flynn and Bernard Brogan with us as well. They're all waiting for you to watch on all our social channels. We are here with thanks to SuperValu. And look out on Saturday. As part of their Support Where You're From campaign, they've been working with primary schools across Dublin and Mayo, as well as Crumlin Children's Hospital, to create artwork, which will be on display in Croke Park this weekend. So very happy to say Barry Moran has stayed with us, and then we've brought in some of the neutrals. Valerie Mulcahy, just the 10 All-Irelands for Valerie, just the 9 National Leagues. No biggie. Valerie, how you doing?
Good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
And All-Ireland winner Ryan McHugh with us as well. Ryan, how you doing?
Very good, Joe. Very good.
Great to have you with us. So, where do we start with this one? I mean, geez, it's been an odd all year, and we get Mayo and Dublin once again in the All-Ireland final. The weird thing, Barry, about Mayo is that usually you lads like to make a big old deal of, you know, epics and drawn matches and lucky escapes and all sorts of odysseys to get to an All-Ireland final. 2020, just reversed in nicely. All very, very smooth. Is that a good thing?
Yeah, I think it is. Honestly, I think if I was James Horan, he'd be very happy with this. I think he's a young team, got the 3 games, got the wins in an All-Ireland final. Not much hype, no major injuries, I think, over the last couple of games. And it's rolling up nicely for James and the team, I think, for Saturday.
Valerie, you kick us off then. There are so many talking points here, from the sideline to what's going to happen on the pitch, to even, maybe to a lesser extent, the stands. It's obviously a strange environment. What's looming large in your thoughts when you're thinking about this game?
I just think the dominance of Dublin, and how, I guess, the whole country would love Mayo to win, but you couldn't begrudge Dublin with the fact that they have kept this going, their consistency, their high standards. The fact that with Desi coming in, it just shows how player-led the whole thing is, and their high standards. And, you know, like, what other county could go without one of the top players in the country in Caffrey? And, you know, that they haven't seemed to have lost him in a sense, you know, and with Fenton standing up and Kilkenny having another awesome year, I think it is hard to look beyond them. But, you know, anything can happen. And I think if there's any team to do it, it's Mayo, considering, you know, how close they have come in the past number of years.
Yeah. Ryan, you look at Dublin and it feels like, not least since the Donegal ambush, but each year on year they have just built on the last year. As opposed to like fighting complacency, it feels like each year has become more efficient, more streamlined. They all know what they're doing. Physically, they keep going to new places. I mean, the way they have just trampled everyone into this final is kind of scary. They've been so good, it's like prompted the Dublin dominance debate before they've even won this year's All-Ireland final. So, like, I mean, you're looking for weaknesses there. Nobody's exposed much so far this year, that's for sure.
No, listen, it's phenomenal. You know, they're a phenomenal side. So they are, in my opinion, probably the best side to ever play the game. As you touched on, seem to get better and better every year. You know, I think what they do brilliantly is they add in 1 or 2 new players every year, and they just add them in so seamlessly. You know, you take Robert McDade going in this year, man of the match in a couple of matches. You know, they lose the players like Jack McCaffrey, Brian Howard's not playing, Paul Mannion. These boys that were in the team last year, 3 of the best footballers in Ireland, aren't in the team now, and it's making no difference to them. You know, so it is unbelievable how year on year they get stronger, you know. But I suppose that's a credit to the setups that they have all throughout the county, you know, that they're fit to keep producing these top players.
Because even, you know, the Meath game, Ryan, when I think Meath early on's got a couple of points off Dublin kickouts, short kickouts, and then boom, Cluxton ball down, goes along to Con. That's been a little added little extra this year, and then, you know, Con sets up the goal and away they go. So, like, in terms of what Donegal did to them, so that's not going to happen again. They've long since learned to deal with that. Packed defences, they've long since learned to deal with that. So, I mean, it doesn't seem like there's an obvious kind of tactical magic trick that a Jim McGuinness type can pull out of the back pocket to phase them at this stage. They've kind of seen it all.
Yeah, I would agree. You know, I think from that day in 2014, they've really learned from that and progressed, and as we said, just gone from strength to strength. You know, I think, to be fair to Mayo and probably Kerry last year, they've they've shown the way that probably caused Dublin problems is really step up to them. And you know, Barry and Stephen touched on there previously, is try cause as much chaos throughout the game as possible. Make Dublin do what they don't want to do. But I think the problem is you just have to be on your toes and at it for the whole 70 minutes. You touched on that Meath turned them over a couple of times in kickouts, and then just bang, Stephen Cluxton over the top and it's a goal, and it's virtually game over. You know, you just have to be at it for the whole time. But I do think Mayo have the players on the pitch and have the capabilities of causing Dublin a lot of problems as well. You know, with Killian Connor, the form he's in, and Aidan O'Shea and Tommy Connery in the full forward line. You know, I do think Mayo have the capabilities of causing the Dublin defenders a lot of problems.
Barry, physically, is this Mayo group able to match Dublin the way, you know, you guys were in 16 and 17 in particular?
Yeah, I think so. I think, like, if you look at the team that's probably going to line out on Saturday, you know, it's a lot of young lads, but physically they're in great shape. Like, you look at Owen McLaughlin there in the half-back line. You look at Paddy, who's been around for a couple of years. He's like a stalwart. He's still in his early 20s, but those kind of guys there, huge running power, huge mobility. And I think that's what James has gone for this year. I think he's gone for mobility, he's gone for speed, he's gone for pace. And I think that's probably what he's going to be banking on to be able to try to push the Dubs and look to challenge them on Saturday. It's going to be all about trying not to concede at the back, obviously, and then it's going to be quite similar to them. Counter-attack at pace, get the ball up to the scorers, and our half-back lines are key to that, and they're running out of that. But physically, I think we should be okay. I think, you know, we've got running ability from talking to the lads and just even seeing them around the place. They're all in great shape, so hopefully that won't be an issue on Saturday.
Valerie, if you take the semi-final last year, Mayo went in 2 points up at the break, did a lot of things really well, tackled, you know, in a manic fashion at times, a lot of brilliant dispossessions, kept the ball a lot, actually. I think people forget that a bit about the first half. There was definitely a ploy whereby they were intent, and it was almost like, well, if we have it, you can't hurt us. You know, we're going to be very patient here. And it was looking good, and then bang, those 12 minutes. And I know Stephen Rochford said, oh, a few things went wrong, but like things are going to go wrong and in any game, and Dublin are going to do what they do. So I don't know, like that's the scary thought for Mayo, is that Dublin are capable of doing that to them, and very recently as well.
Well, that's the thing with Dublin, it's that third quarter kind of impact. Possibly this water break will have a slight impact in that, you know, they can regroup and have that maybe much needed timeout that's done in basketball. I remember actually Lindsay Pete referring to it when we were, you know, 10 points down and we were coming back, and Lindsay Pete, who was a big basketballer, would have said to Mark Ingle, Jesus, if we just had a timeout, like, to calm people down and have the chat. So I think that might play a small part. But look, Dublin know how to expose opposition, and they also are very strong, and you know, they've learned patience and even, you know, wait until the 50th, 60th minute nearly to kind of kick into fifth gear. So Mayo will have to be with them on the home stretch to try and see it out. But what's interesting is this Mayo team, on every line of the pitch, they have a championship debutant this year. So, you know, they've seemed to just transition well and fit in. But, like, are Mayo better than they were 3 years ago? I'm not sure. Are Dublin? Yeah, I think they're probably even better. And you know, I think a lot of ifs have to go for Mayo to win, but that whole Occam's razor, where, you know, the kind of simpler explanation is probably usually the best one. And it's that kind of thing where it's hard to look beyond Dublin. Kickouts. But look, this is sport, you know, 50-50, run over that line and anything is possible. And momentum serves an awful lot. And, you know, imagine the impact of a red card or something. It can change the swing of the game. So, but you know what to expect out of Dublin, you know, high percentage shot selection. They won't waste any ball. You know, as was mentioned earlier, they'll definitely try and ensure that the ball goes dead. And, you know, they look to get Cluxton, you know, setting up everything and big games again out of their big players. And they have that added benefit of a really strong bench and that motivation of going. But look, you know, I wouldn't rule out Mayo by any means. And I think, as I said, if any team is going to do it, it can well be with Mayo. It's
funny, Valerie, I was at that match last year with my two Mayo parents, and during that 12, 13, 14 minute onslaught, whatever it is, just remember the three of us saying, Why is no one going down injured here? Why is no one starting to fight? Why are they just like keeping the tempo of this beautiful tempo up that Dublin are enjoying so much? What's like for an experienced team, you know, speaking of the water break, like it was bizarre kind of, I guess that's the pressure Dublin bring, you know, your brain kind of deserts you at times.
Yeah, but in a way, you kind of got to appreciate that they don't resort to those kind of methods. But
they do plenty of times. Look at Barry Moran there,
showing the GPS.
Yeah.
Rock, yeah.
I mean, we'll throw a GPS, but we'll never go down injured.
But that was like one day in soccer, I was playing and I wouldn't be used to diving or whatever. And she told me, she said, if you went down, you would have got a penalty. I was like, well, why didn't you just give it to me? But no, I like the way it hasn't come into the GA, you know, for the most part. But look, it looks to be a really exciting match, and it being on a Saturday a little bit different. And then, of course, you have the women on Sunday, which is going to be really exciting. And
yeah, for
I'm
sure.
glad to see Cork back there.
I'm sure you are. We're gonna get into that in a couple of moments' time. What about that kind of core point that Valerie makes, Ryan, which is kind of a brutal one for Mayo, and it's that Mayo 16-17 versus 20. They were just a better team in 16-17 for obvious reasons, and Dublin are every bit as good. Who knows? Possibly better. We don't quite know yet because they haven't been pushed to the pin of their collar. Like there is a kind of brutal truth to that, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. There definitely is. You know, but I suppose it just goes back to that point again. Can Mayo take Dublin out of their comfort zone? You know, it's going back to Dublin not being tested. Can Mayo test them and really ask questions of them that they'll have to answer? Now, to be fair to Dublin in the past, they've always answered them, but can they really put it up to them and really put questions to them that they'll need to answer? You know, I think personally that kickouts will be a huge factor in the game. You know, I think kickouts have become massive in the GA at the minute. You know, you go back to that years you're talking about, 16 and 17, where Mayo had massive men, Barry, Aidan O'Shea, Seamus O'Shea around the middle. You know, I just don't know where Matthew Rowan and Conor Loftus are very, very athletic. They're probably not as big as they had back then, you know. So I think Dublin will try and put a huge press on David Clarke's kick out, you know, and I think that could play a big part if Mayo can get the ball out. And yeah, they're going to get X amount short, but can they get out then? Because Dublin's press is phenomenal. Because
Mayo went long a few times against Galway, so your worry is, who do they go long to on Saturday?
Well, I just think with Brian Fenton and James McCarthy, these boys around the middle, I just think they could dominate completely, you know, if the ball's in the air. So I think Mayo, as they've done in the past, you know, successfully, I think if they can get the ball away short and work it out, it could help them a lot. I just think Dublin could overpower them if the ball's in the air.
What about
just
that?
Another point.
Sorry, Valerie.
Like the fact Mayo really have to tighten up in defence. I mean, giving so many opportunities to Barry seems worrying, considering they're up against such a force in Dublin, and the way Dublin seem to move that ball seamlessly, you know, through the lines and always looking to pop that pass for someone to just flick it in, you know, expose and get a 2v1. So Mayo will really from the start have to keep, you know, batten down the hatches, so they say.
Yeah, I know those second half goals against Tips sort of linger a little bit in the memory. What about Ryan's point, Barry? You've been out in that area of the field. If Dublin are putting the high press on, who's going to be the target man that Mayo can realistically go to?
Yeah, well, I think first of all, I think Dublin will put a high press on. I think they'll push forward into the full forward line, and they'll push everyone in. They'll look to stop the short ball into the corner backs, and they're going to want to go long. I think if it goes out there, it's we're going to be looking. I know Aidan is playing around the full forward line, but if we're under pressure there, he has to come out and he has to do something. Matty as well is a very good club footballer, very, very good fielder. You know, I know there's a lot more to be offered from Matty in the middle of the field, but I think Ryan's point is bang on. I think they'll push into the Mayo full back line. They won't allow it short, and they'll force David Clarke, probably if he's starting to push it long, and it's up to Mayo then to get in, win it and breaks, and it's going to be key because I think they'll set that tempo from the start. They'll set it early. And if Mayo were struggling the first few minutes with that, then they could be under a bit of pressure.
Barry, you've played in front of that Mayo crowd against Dublin. You know exactly what it's like. And Stephen Rochford even mentioned when Mayo get a big score, it is a phenomenal boost to the team and everything else. And yet James Horn has made the point that maybe there is an anxiety there in the crowds, part two, and, you know, maybe no one in the stands allows for a more even performance. It's difficult for you to answer this, having not played in an All-Ireland final without the crowd. Is there any potential benefit more to Mayo than Dublin not having the crowd there, do you think? Or is this just proper, you know, nonsensical pre-match talk?
No, I think James has come out during the week and he said that it would benefit him, and obviously he knows his players best. And I suppose the view he's coming at that is that he's a lot of so-called rookies involved in the squad. He has 6 or 7 young guys that are going to come in and 1 or 2 more off the bench. And I think he's probably just looking at this, that it just takes away another dynamic that maybe they're not used to. And maybe that's the angle he's going at. For a player, I think we'd all agree that you want the big crowds, you want the noise or that. But 2020 is a funny year. And what's to say that the point that there's no crowds there might benefit Mayo. And I think that's where James is coming at. I think with the younger lads that are in there, there won't be that extra pressure that might come from the crowd. And I think that's what he's looking at.
If there is an area, Ryan, where Mayo can feel, well, we have an advantage by dint of experience, it's on the sideline, actually. There's a lot of areas in the pitch which aren't stacking up. But, James Horan has been there. It's like trying to make decisions in that environment under that pressure in real time can't be easy. So Dessie Farrell's doing this for the first time. A lot of weight in his shoulders. It's probably difficult for us to know how he's going to handle that, but it's definitely a question mark at the moment. One of the few question marks over Dublin. Yeah,
it is, definitely. It's Dessie's first year now. To be fair to him, he's done a phenomenal job so far, so he has. Yeah. And even with the minors and with under-21s, he's done a phenomenal job, I actually read something online there earlier, I think, in Dessie Farrell's first year with the minors. I think he lost to Tipperary in the minor final, and under-21s, he got his first year with under-21s, he lost to Longford, which was a huge shock. So maybe in his first year with the seniors, it might be a good omen for Mayo, I'm not sure. But no, definitely, and to be fair to James Horan, in the past so far, he's got all his matchups right, and the decisions that he's had to make on pitch, he's 99% of the time he's got them right, But I think from a field, or on the field, sorry, I should say, point of view, where I think Mayo can get at Dublin is Mayo's full forward. I think Cillian O'Connor is probably in the form of his life. I read there recently as well, he's only 28. I couldn't believe it. He seems like he's been around for ages, I think he's probably playing the football of his life. And Aidan O'Shea, where probably doesn't get the scores, but what he creates for Mayo, I think people don't understand that, and his work rate and everything off the ball, what he does on the ball, creates so many scores, win frees. I think he's playing phenomenal, and then obviously their new man Tommy Conroy, who's popping in with 4 or 5 points in most games. I think that is so. If Mayo can get the right quality ball and into their full forward line, I think that is one area that they can do damage. And if Aidan O'Shea or Cillian O'Connor or Tommy Conroy can get a goal or two, it'll really open it up,
Yeah, goals definitely feel key for Mayo. So predictions before we move on to Sunday's game between Cork and Dublin. Barry, we've kept you long enough. We're going to let you go. So I know what your heart says.
Yeah.
Give us the head.
Yeah, so look, heart is definitely going with Mayo, obviously. But look, if you break it down to facts and figures, there were 5 in a row, going for 6. Look at the bench, look at the expertise, look at how they've gone through the championship, look at the scores they're putting up. The head would have to say Dublin, the heart will say Mayo. But 2020 is a funny year, so maybe we'll all be happy on Mayo on Saturday evening. But if you're looking at form and facts, it's Dublin.
Barry, you're meant to obviously always lie when you're asked those questions. You're meant to say no.
No.
That's the naivety now again.
Yeah, no naivety. Maybe it's a ploy. No, it's Dublin's to lose.
Yeah, they can't lose. It's impossible, says Barry. Valerie,
it's impossible.
Valerie, you said sometimes the simplest explanation is the best one.
Yeah, I think Dublin. I think it'll be a great game, and like Ryan alluded to, if they get the ball into that full forward line and even a few Hail Marys in, I think, cause a bit of damage, create a bit of fuss. Who knows? But you would have to go with Dublin, and I will be going with Dublin, yeah.
Because, Ryan, as we know, like Dublin, you said Tyrone a couple of years ago, Dublin are not afraid to just win these things easy if they can, and like Limerick did it last weekend. The Dublin dominance debate blew up after they won the semi-final so easily. If they win this All-Ireland final relatively handy, 6-7 points, God knows the debate we're in for. Like, do you think it'll be competitive? I'm assuming you're going for Dublin. Do you think we'll be talking 2, 3, 4 point territory, or could you see Dublin winning this by closer to 6-7?
I think, I do think Dublin's going to win. I think if somebody put a gun to my head, I would probably say 5 to 6 points, but I really think it's going to come down to how going back to that word again that Stephen and Barry used, how much chaos can Mayo cause in Dublin, but I think stuff, Dublin are so good, and you don't actually realise it until you really play against them or really study them. if you even take the game last year against Mayo, I think what they're unbelievable at is if you take the first half, when they probably weren't playing as good, they still just hung on in the game and slowed it down to their level and only went in 2 points down. If you take the game that we probably played against Mayo last year, we were going bad and we let the game drift away from us. Dublin hung in there and then came out the second half and just absolutely wiped them off the park, you know. So simple stuff like that. It's easy to say a team's unbelievable when they're going well. When a team's not playing as well, it's what players are standing up and stuff like that. And I think Dublin just always, you know, they get it right in them situations. So I really hope that we get a good tight match because I think the GA needs it, you know. And listen, history says going into matches like these that Mayo always produce it, and I really hope they do. You know, I know a few of the lads in the Mayo panel, Lee Keegan and boys like that, and I really love to see them get over the line because I do admire, as much as I admire what Dublin have done, it's phenomenal. I really do admire what Mayo have done, you know, to keep coming back year after year, you know, and to be so close. I think they listen, you don't always get what you deserve, but I think Mayo would definitely deserve an All-Ireland.
Yeah, for sure. Well, look, history suggests it'll be close, so we'll see. Barry Moran, we have kept you more than long enough. We're going to say good night. Thanks very much. Enjoy the game. Where are you watching it on Saturday?
Yeah, so I'm watching it in the clubhouse in Castlebar. So, yeah, let's hope we're celebrating afterwards. But, yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
Hopefully.
So thanks again to Barry Moran, and you can catch Barry and Stephen Rochford and Bernard Brogan, Paul Flynn on all our social channels. They've already been on this evening. So turning to events on Sunday, that is Saturday at Croke Park. Sunday at Croke Park has Cork against Dublin, a 5th All-Ireland meeting in 7 years. We've had the dominance of Valerie and Cork, 11 All-Irelands in 12 years. We have had Dublin taking over, now going for 4 in a row. So Valerie, we're talking here about the two dominant forces. Galway 04 is about the last time somebody else got a chance.
Yeah, you know, it's good to see Cork back there. They weren't there last year, so...
That's a famine, is it?
Yeah. That's long enough now. We don't want to go any longer. And we need to get a win now because we do feel like it's been a famine since 2016. So, yeah, look, it's going to be a really exciting game. I think Cork have done pretty well this year. Dublin going well, but like the likes of Sinead Ahern probably an injury out, which is a bit worrying for them considering she's their stalwart player. Dublin then having new players in, playing very well. Jennifer Dunn, you know, partnering up with a young Lauren McGee who's heading down under, but haven't played them in the county club championship. You know, a fine athlete and a great player and tenacious. So I think there'll be good matchups there around midfield. What's exciting about Cork, if they can get the ball in quick, is the likes of Saoirse Noonan inside, you know, a really promising young player who plays soccer as well and got lovely natural ability, you know, that's someone you'd go to pay for just to watch on her own, not mind everyone else. So, you know, I'm pretty confident or optimistic, I guess. Dublin have all the experience in that, but I think the hurt of Cork from a few years previous and probably that appetite to win, you know, could be in their favour. They had a quite convincing win against Galway, whereas Dublin got a better contest and, you know, had to come and overcome a good Armagh side. So, you know, I think there'll be good battles all over the pitch. And I think hopefully it'll be a high-scoring match because recently there was a terrible game. 1-3, was it, to 4 points?
It was horrific.
Which wasn't a spectacle.
Yeah, it wasn't good. There was a period there where it didn't matter what game it was. It just seemed like Saoirse had scored the either winning goal or point. She's obviously ridiculously talented. It's nuts. Yeah,
I know she is. And then like you've got Orla Finn beside her, who's a phenomenal point taker. And it was nice to be able to retire knowing that someone had the capacity to, you know, take the shots under pressure and you know, step up to that added, you know, part of responsibility in being a free taker. So, you know, I think things are looking good enough for Cork. They've got some young new players in as well, like the likes of Eric O'Shea and one of the Kileys. So, you know, a blend of experience and youth, and like Martine O'Brien, a massive player for Cork, a great leader and a great defender. And then you've got Darren O'Sullivan and Ciara, who seems to be around forever. Like Ciara was a young one when we were playing, and she's got such a sidestep and a dummy. You could even know what's going to happen, but you still can't stop her. She's that good. She's like Messi on the ball. So I'd love to see Ciara moving that ball off quick, and then every so often, you know, dodging around players to make an impact. But promises to be a really good game.
Because Ryan, Doireann O'Sullivan was talking in the build-up to the match, and she was saying Dublin have taken things to a whole new level. They're ticking all the boxes: strength and conditioning, nutrition. They're off the scales. Dublin are excellent footballers, she said, but I think the thing that separates them from the rest of us is their athleticism. They're extremely fast. They're fit all over the pitch. They've taken strength and conditioning to a new level. If you run into one of the Dublin girls, you know all about it. All counties, Mayo, Dublin, Donegal, Kerry, Waterford, Cork, we all have excellent footballers, but I think Dublin are out on their own in terms of pace and strength and the speed of their game. It's our job to try and close the gap and catch them. I thought that was a very honest kind of thing to say in the build-up to an All-Ireland final. Is that how you see things as well from a physical point of view?
Yeah, I suppose it's no difference to the men. The Dublin ladies have really raised the bars to that, and I suppose it's up to the rest of the counties to try get up to that. But I suppose when you're involved in sport, ladies, is no difference to men. It really you really look for 1% of a gain, 2% of a gain. And I suppose that's what Dublin have really looked at, and then the strength and conditioning side of thing. Which is probably, I'm not sure, but probably new to ladies. So it's that 1% extra which can make a massive difference on a year, So I'm really looking forward to the match. So I'm actually, I've actually followed the ladies a lot this year. We felt in Donegal that we actually had a good chance this year, but ultimately came up against Dublin. So I actually watched that match and studied a lot coming up to the final. And I felt Dublin just controlled the game great. I believe in previous years gone by, they were just wiping teams away, beating them off the park. I think this year, a lot, to be fair to them, they're controlling the game a lot more and just getting over the line. Might only won the game by 2 or 3 points, but never really looked like they were going to lose the game at the same time, So, and Cork, the other side, who have, as Valerie, I wouldn't mind if 4 years for us was a famine. It'd be a great complaint, so it would. But no, listen, I suppose Cork are so used to winning, so they are, 4 years would feel like a famine. I suppose they've felt themselves they might have gone through a wee bit of transition, but I think it's time that they move on from that transition period and start trying to get back to the top table again. So I think we're in for a great match, we are, and I think it's definitely the two best teams in Ireland meeting each other. So hopefully we get to see the two best teams going at it on Sunday, and hopefully they produce a great match.
So even then, sorry Valerie, go ahead.
The thing with wanting to win is so that dominance doesn't appear again in the ladies' football game. It was grand when it was Cork, but we don't want Dublin topping us 5 in a row, So I think that's kind of important. And just from being in, I was a manager there and playing with Ballyboden and St Andrews this year, and seeing the setup that the clubs have, and first of all the numbers that are involved, but the setup, and the girls have years of gym experience, so they're matching the Cork intercounty players for their preparation in terms of gym experience. We had a nutritionist staying, a psychologist, sports psychologist. No stone goes unturned, and there's no lack of money there to ensure that the girls get the best treatment, which is exactly what you want. But that's what was profound in my eyes.
Would that be the case in Cork?
No. And there isn't as much of a link in with the male clubs, so Ballyboden have the backing of the lads and the same use of facilities and gym, whereas Mourne Abbey is that's part of Clydagh, but then you've St Val's, which is more divisions, not linked to Macroom or anywhere near that. So
they have their act together.
They do, and just what really struck me was the girls' form and technique in the gym, and these club girls had been at it for a few years, and I was going, Jesus, I didn't even have that when I was in. I'd go off my own and source that, from my cousin in the gym, in fitness work in Cork, So different, right?
So when Doireann O'Sullivan talks there about the gap, that's definitely there, even between Dublin and Cork, is it?
Well, I think they probably have a few years gym experience. Now, I would debate that Cork football, they have more footballers, outright footballers, with natural kicking style and all that, but as I learned earlier on in my career, unless you can win that ball and you're physically fit, it doesn't matter what you can do with the ball unless you can win it first and win your own possession. And that's why I had to work on my bits. But with the Cork girls, they will have a lot of experience in the gym and that kind of fitness work. But I do think the Dubs have a few years on them. But I don't know how much that will tell when it comes to, we still don't have that. While it's physical, we don't have the shoulder and that yet. Although sometimes you'd wonder.
Yeah. And Ryan, I'm wary of drawing too many parallels with the men, but Valerie talks there about how they've plugged into the facilities and the gym work. When you talked about this Dublin team now having that bit more control over games. I mean, as you were saying that, I mean, the team I thought of was the Dublin men's team, you know, calmly picking a lesser side apart and, you know, the hand in the air to signal some kind of possession-based couple of minutes or whatever, you know. So is it akin to that when you're talking about the control that they're playing with, that game management almost, as opposed to, we know they have the ability to just run over teams as well? Yeah,
exactly. You know, I think I can't speak for the Dublin ladies, but they definitely look like they have studied the Dublin men, you know, and I don't want to say copied the way they play, but really looked at it and tried to implement it to their best of ability. You know, I suppose watching the games, the Dublin men are unbelievable at controlling the game. You know, as keep going back to that Mayo game last year, I suppose, when they were going bad, they were still controlling the game and then just absolutely wiped Mayo off the park. And in the second half, I suppose the Dublin ladies, I feel anyway, have sort of taken that approach a wee bit. Just I don't think they ever looked like losing games, you know, but you just feel they're not putting up the same scores that they have been, I suppose, the last number of years, but at the same time never looked like losing the game, you know. That's very interesting because, Valerie, I was going to ask about the fact that Dublin haven't racked up the same kind of high score lines that they have in previous years. You know, you mentioned the Armagh game. I think it was 3-13 to 3-8. They conceded, you know, 3 goals is not good. But people were interpreting Dublin not running up the high scores as maybe, oh, is there a vulnerability there? So it's very interesting to hear Ryan say, well, maybe there's actually just a bit more control there, which is a slightly more frightening prospect. How do you see Dublin this year?
I'd probably go with the opposite thing. I would possibly think they're under a little bit of pressure, maybe not firing on all cylinders. And I think if there is a question mark over Sinead Ahern, and if she isn't 100% or if she doesn't start, I think they will be in a bit more trouble. And also Cork need to kind of negate the likes of Sinead Goldrick, you know, with that pace, that blistering pace. Yeah. She's like McCaffrey with that explosion of pace. So Carla Rose played well. Lindsay has been player of the match in the last game, Lindsay Davey. And, you know, I suppose every game they have an opportunity for someone new to pop up and to lead. But I'd question how clinical they are this year and how able they are to create more goal chances, and maybe some of that is that kind of comfort on the ball and that you know being comfortable with having a small lead. But I hope the Cork can test that and really see is it a control thing or is it just the inability to maybe finish off games?
Yeah, and I guess look, it's winter football. They were playing Armagh up on a tighter pitch, heavier pitch. I mean, maybe Croke Park Sunday, if the weather's not so bad, we might see some of that running game very quickly.
Yeah, and along with that running, they have a lovely ability to spray the ball and kick it to the wings, and especially looking for the likes of Sinead Ahern on her own to do a 1v1, and I think they'll mix it up a bit. But it'll be interesting, and definitely an open pitch, Croke Park will suit them, but I think it could equally suit Cork as well if as I said, they can do what Armagh did and just try and get that ball in nice and quick, stop the counter-attack, and also just, you know, stop Dublin getting back into defence. Just kick it midfield, kick it on again, full forward line, and let the talented forwards inside do the work.
You'd have a reasonable feel for some of the personalities in the Cork team. I saw the point made during the week that the no crowd favours Cork, unlike maybe with the men's, Mayo bring an army up. In the ladies' final, Dublin tend to dominate the crowd. So, you know, suddenly that's a more even playing pitch. And you have quite a few rookies in this Cork team. So maybe that's a kind of calmer environment to take on the Dubs. And we don't have to get into the fiasco. They did have the semi-final experience in the end of playing in Croker. Yeah. So maybe that's something in their favour as well.
Well, I think definitely the fact that the young girls got an opportunity to play in Croke Park, and, you know, that was all that will always be familiar territory to them. But as a player, don't you want to be playing in front of crowds?
Yeah.
I think long enough women have been playing in front of no people, or very few bar families. So
I mean,
it is a lost opportunity.
I'm definitely not advocating this is the way to go.
No, I know.
I'm more just saying it could. It could suit Cork this year if it suits anyone.
It could. Exactly. And I know there's more of a footfall for the Dubs in Croke Park, and so maybe it will. But there'll be certainly everyone in Cork rooting for them, because for the last number of years we've been flying the flag for the GAA in Cork. So hopefully we create a bit of joy down here.
I was listening earlier to Sarah Rowe, Aisling Sheridan and Aisling Maloney, and they were chatting to Aisling O'Reilly earlier on in the preview, and, you know, again, you're talking up Dublin and everything else, and then they were all asked who's going to win, and all three of them said Cork. So, are Cork kind of sneakily favourites here for this game? Ryan, how are you seeing it?
Again, I think Dublin will sneak in maybe 1 or 2 points, but you'd like to think Cork are going to come with severe hunger, you know, and just really go at it from the start, you know, just I suppose as we touched on, not being there the last number of years, you know, you'd like to think that they're back at the top table now and they want to prove that they should be there, and they want to show that they can stay there. So you'd like to think that Cork are going to really come out of the blocks at the start, you know, and get stuck into Dublin as best they can. But I just think the wee bit of experience that Dublin have, I know the injuries are a huge part to play. If Dublin don't get their full team on the pitch, I think that would give Cork the edge. That'll have a big part to play in it. But I think another thing that Dublin have huge is their keeper is phenomenal. You know, I think I watched her against Donegal again, was the main match that I watched. But I thought she was, I happened to watch the Tyrone and Armagh match actually the night before, and I just thought she was head and shoulders above every other keeper that I watch, you know. And as I touched on in the men's game, same in the ladies, the kickouts are so important just to get primary possession, you know, to get possession of the ball is huge, and I think that could be a huge part to play on Sunday.
I actually think Martina O'Brien is equally as good, and I was actually reading over the book Relentless the other night, and it was how she played a lot of the championship matches because Lane Hart had been out for a while, and Eamon went with Lane Hart, and before the team was named, Martina sat by Lane Hart, knowing that she'd been dropped for Lane, and that solidarity. And I think that's that maturity and that humility that Martina brings, and leading from the back and being a strong voice could be instrumental. And she's pulled off some great saves this year. So I do think the two best goalkeepers in the championship are going to be on display this weekend, and they will have a busy time, I reckon.
I have this image now of you reading Relentless at least 4 or 5 times a year.
I actually have it here, and I was taking a few notes.
Do you want to read out any of the Valerie Mulcahy sections? No?
Jesus. The same night, Mulcahy's rap on. Oh, yeah, this is when I got sent off and had to go fucking, yeah. I missed an All-Ireland homecoming. But anyway, back to the game. On the hunger point with Cork, there's 5 dual players who have lost semi-final in Camogie and have a chance to redeem themselves or a chance to, you know, put some joy in their lives. So I think they will be hurt from the Camogie and can positively bring that to the football and see it as a second opportunity. So, like, if they're not hungry now and if they don't want to win, I don't know what would push anyone to.
So it's interesting. Before our chat this evening, I had sort of thought that the biggest famine in Gaelic games was the Mayo men, 1951. It turns out it's the Cork women, so that we need to correct that. That is the real famine in Gaelic games right now. So Valerie, we know what your heart says. Honest, dispassionate analysis of this, Cork against Dublin. What do you think is going to happen?
Cork by 2.
Main reason?
Faith.
I wanted logic. You're giving me the heart.
Yeah, we fucking back your own.
Okay, now give me what's the main reason?
Saoirse Noonan is going to pull a goal out, and Martina's going to make a great save, and we're going to dominate midfield.
Okay,
and Ciara Sullivan and Darren will hit a few long range points, and we'll make an amazing block, go up the wing, cross it over and over the bar.
Okay, sounds like a hammering at this stage now.
Yeah. No, just the 2.
Just the 2. Okay, so it's going to be tight either way. Well, look, Ryan just going for Dublin, Valerie just going for Cork. Guys, thanks so much. Enjoy the game either way. I mean, look, it's this is not a bad December weekend of Gaelic games in the lead up to Christmas. So enjoy it. A nice end to a strange year. Valerie Mulcahy, thanks a million.
Thanks a million.
And Ryan, thanks a million. Ryan McHugh.
Thank you.
That was our SuperValu Roadshow. Looking ahead to the final, I guess it's our last one of this very strange inter-county season. And you can check out SuperValu's YouTube channel as well to see their latest support from the Sofa video series, which brings you into the homes of lots of GAA fans around the country losing their minds. I'm sure you've seen some of them already. That's it from us. Good night.